actually, all parents need to hear this. But there's a stigma around it that I'm not good enough when I ask for help. Parents look at their children, just the initial look when they come into a room actually becomes how the children see themselves.
Hello everyone. So our guest today is the coveted author of the book Your Passport to Parenting, which not only gives us the insights on the parenting styles, but also showcases the fact that there is not one unique style to parenting. Please welcome Joanne. Hello Joanne, how are you?
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And how have you been? How are things out there?
Out here in Hawaii it's good. It's good. Yeah, it's easy when you're in a small island during these times.
Amazing. Okay, so Joanne, how did this idea came about, writing this book about parenting? And what was the story in the book that sparked your research into parenting around the world?
Well, my husband, he's in the military, and we move every 24 months. So for the past 15 years, we've been moving every 24 months and, had children in between that and all of that. And we moved country every 24 months. And what happened was I was always a new mom in a new environment and not knowing anything that was going on. And I started to have to really lean on other moms to be able to feel like I was, how do you do this? Where do you go for this? What do you, all of that stuff. And when I started digging deeper with the parents, I realized that parents have amazing things to share if you ask them. So I started asking around, and slowly I started then doing more research and finding parents that I thought, I've got this opportunity to move around the world. We lived in 5 countries in the last 10 years. And I really found that if you dig a little deeper with parents, that it can really change your life. And slowly I started developing these ideas that I put towards my family and started sharing them with others. I'm also a performing arts school teacher, and I started using them in my classrooms and all of that. And I started telling my friends, and everyone was like, you need to write these down. And slowly it just became a book until I met a publisher and they were like, let's do this. So it was pretty much that. I think the story that the moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I've got something here. There's something here that can really be built on and researched was when we were living in England. We were living in the Cotswolds in England, and I met a farmer's wife who was a magistrate as well. And we became really good friends. And eventually she became a parenting mentor to me because she had such a great relationship with her adult children. And my children were 3 and 5 at the time. And I remember thinking, I want that. I want to have that adult relationship with my children that looks as wonderful as what she has. So I invited her for tea, as you do in the UK. And I asked her, I said, how did you get to that point where you have such an incredible, warm, genuine relationship with your adult children? And she told me the best story ever. She said what she did was she made a vow to herself never to lecture them. So what she does is if she has to tell a story, she finds a story to share that gets to the point. She was a magistrate, so it was easy for her. She would, if she had to talk about drugs being offered to you, she would come home and say, hey, there was this guy in the court today, he was selling drugs. And she would tell the story because they would engage. And she said it wasn't like, when kids do this because they know the lecture's coming. It wasn't like that at all. And she said eventually she just started finding stories and just bringing them in from newspaper articles, stories friends had told her. So whatever thing she wanted to get across to them, she attached it to a story so that they would then ask questions instead of just like
nodding their head.
Nodding. I think that was the moment that I was like, actually, all parents need to hear this, So
that's amazing. Amazing. I think it's really interesting that the way you put forward that creates more of an impact when tell a story and then you come to the point. what you want to really, want to kind of them to think about, or there are very many important things that you want them to deliver the message, but actually this is the right way to execute it through a story.
Exactly.
And we all love hearing stories.
We all love it, and we remember them better when it's told in a story other than facts, or you must do this now. I don't remember that when someone talks to me. I don't expect my children to, or any children. So, it's nice to remember that there is a way in through the noise of childhood and everything else. Is just tell them a story all the time.
That's amazing. And I totally agree with you on this. So, Joanne, you have been to a lot of countries. You have been shifting, as you said, from one country to another. So, if I talk about parenting styles and diversity across different cultures. So, because if I talk about my parents, they were quite strict during my childhood. And this, what our perception is, I think that in the Western cultures, parents are not that strict. So is it a myth, or what's your take on the same?
I think each family is different depending on their goals, and I think if we as parents decide what's good for us, every family has different values, different morals, different goals for their families, and I think if the whole family knows what those are, I think then you can move forward. But, often parents in all cultures, they just tick on to the next day. They almost have this to-do tick list, and there's no forethought in it. Why am I doing this? Why am I making my children do too many sports? Or why am I saying my kids don't have to do any, for example? I think we need to sit down and think about it. And I always think I work a lot with businesses, sometimes with parents in business environments, because when you start a business, there is a plan. Everybody who is involved knows the plan. Everyone knows the mission statements, the values of the business, how we're going to do it, what's our 5-year plan, our 10-year plan. And when we have a baby, we just take over every day. There's no plan. Why are we doing? So I think anyone in any culture can just, take something from this is have a plan. Why are you so strict? What is the reason? Or why are you not so strict? Maybe there's a great reason. Both are valid, depending on the family. And moms know their kids and their families. No one else does. So, that child might be really thriving in that environment, and might not do so well in another environment that isn't as structured. So, but I think if you have to take the time and look at it, and not just be, well, this is how I was brought up and this is the way it is. I'll never tell a parent that I know more than them, because only you know your children, and some children work very well in a structured environment and some don't. So
yeah, that's really intriguing. I think the way you portray it forward, and that when any parent comes to you for any parental advice, you say that they know their child better than you do. That's something really different that I've actually heard from a parenting coach, because there are a lot of people who will give you tons of suggestions, tons of advices, that you should do this, you should do like this. If you do like this, this will happen. This will be better.
And I think those people have value too. Absolutely. I think sometimes we need a starting place. Like, there's this whole world and I don't know where to begin. And then you must go and listen to the experts and go, well, what's the starting spot that you recommend? And that might not be for you, but you need to look at it anyway. You need to assume that you know as well. And I think that was one thing that I really took from all these moves was, I'm originally South African, and the way I was brought up was very different to how the parents were bringing their children up in Germany. And they were both right. And I think seeing that really made me much gentler on parents and on myself, and knowing that it's all going to be fine. As long as you do it with intention, it's going to be fine. If you raise your children like someone in, Russia or someone in, Fiji, as long as you're doing it with some thought and intention and knowing why you're doing it, it's all going to be fine.
Everything's gonna fall in place eventually.
Yes.
I think but this is what I feel, that going to a parental coach for counseling, something that we are parents, we can handle it. It's something that ingrained in us. So they don't seek for professional help. And this is what, if I talk about my country, this is what something which is very much prevalent these days. Not a lot of parents go to a parental coach if they are facing some issues with their children. And children these days, they have different mindsets, different aspirations, different goals. So you cannot bracket them into, you are like this, so you should be doing like this. Can't bracket them. So
I think children nowadays have a lot more opportunities than we had. I know my generation specific, and whether it's a woman or a man or an age, I think it's very different world. We're not raising our children in the same world we were brought up in, and absolutely, parents never ask for help, but there's a stigma around it that I'm not good enough when I ask for help. And I do parenting courses, and sometimes I'll get parents, and we're in a safe place. We do it all online, and we're in a safe place, and then they open up. But getting them there is so hard, because if they sign up, they're almost admitting to themselves that they don't know. And that's not what it is. It's that, you just want to be a little better, It's like going to the gym. You sign up with the beginner's class first, and that's when you figure out, then you realize, I really don't know what I'm doing. I need to have a next level. It's not that you're not good enough. It's just that it's a lot. It's a lot. And maybe you only have 18 years that your child lives with you. Right. Maybe in those 18 years, you can make it better or more or happier or whatever it is for you by asking many people for help. So I think it's very valuable to seek help.
I think scenario will change, and the experts like you are of course there to help the parents out there, and they need help, and there's nothing wrong in seeking for help. We go to a doctor. Right. Yeah. So it's just that's normal. If we have a stomach ache, we go to a doctor to treat it, right? It's just we have a headache, we go to the doctor. Is that as simple and easygoing? If you have some issues, you're not able to deal with your child, go to an expert and take some advice or suggestion. This is what I kind of feel.
And it's just small things. It's just the smallest things that can. One of my courses is actually remembering how it felt to be a child. And it's very powerful, because we were all in that mindset once. We all have that right there that we just have to tune into and go, how did it feel when my mother spoke to me like this? Or how did it feel when I was this? And to draw from that. And I had one woman who did a course with me, and I told her that, we're all little scientists, and we stop these children from exploring the world because we think they're going to make a mess, or they're going to cause disruption, or they're going to be chaotic. They're chaotic. That's what they are. And she said her child one day was wanting to open the dishwasher while it was running, and usually she'd say no. And after doing the course, she was like, she let him open it to see, because life is science. And she started seeing her children as little scientists instead of chaotic and disruptive. And she said just that small little perception change in her mind made her have fun with her kids, because all of a sudden they were bringing sand in the house and putting it in the carpet, and she was like, freaking out. She's like, hold on a minute, this is science. How are you going to clean it out? Are you going to use vacuum? So she was starting to help them discover their world, and she said her whole world with them opened up with just that one little suggestion of raise your children like little scientists around the world. And it's just those little small things. It's not someone telling you doing something wrong. She was doing everything beautifully. But that one little thing was like, this is going to change everything, how I see my children.
Right. I think that was like a game changer, because every parent wants their kid, even these days. Parents are working, and especially if both the parents are working, it's very difficult to maintain a work-life balance. Because you have kids at home, you have to, take care of them, monitor them as well. You have to take care of your work. It is you have to meet both the ends. Both the ends are important, and you can't choose. So, what advice will you give to the working parents out there?
The working parents, that's hard. There's a woman, and her name is, it's just slipped my mind, but she wrote a book called How to Raise an Adult. And she talks about, she was the dean at Stanford University, and she did a study on the first years in university and the final year, and what made them successful when, and she found that it was chores and lots of love. And for this reason, I think when with parents who have kids who can do something, I think having a household that can all contribute to each other eases the load for everybody, and giving them things. She said that what makes a successful child is somebody who sees a problem and fixes it because there's no one else to fix it. And this in business and life and in work environments was making those children much more successful than the children who had everything given to them. And, so for working parents, I think they need time. They need to give themselves a break too. They can't do it all. And
Right.
Get the whole family involved. In my household, everybody owes me an hour on a weekend, because that's 4 hours that I can have help and everything else. 1 hour is 4 hours of my time, and I think we as working parents need to make sure the family unit is a unit that helps each other, that supports each other, because a lot of the times I think we're starting to make it too easy for kids. I don't know how it is for you guys, but it's like it's all about the child's happiness. Well, it's also about the parents. I think parents forget themselves a lot in the situation. The kids will be fine, but you have to make sure you're okay as a mom.
Right.
Yeah.
We are so giving in that ways. Even if I see a situation here, mothers are so giving. Then their natural tendencies is they're so giving in one way or the other. So they forget themselves. But unless and until you are happy with yourself, you can't actually bring happiness to your family. Unless and until you feel complete, you can't complete the other person.
So I think, so when I was living in Germany, that's really when I learned this. Was I loved how the Germans break their lives into 3. They have family time, non-negotiable time. It is like sacred time. They close the shops at 1 o'clock on a Saturday. Nothing opens on a Sunday, and it's family time. After dinner, they all go for a walk. You'll see the whole family walking. It's family time. Then they have adult time. After 5 p.m., you see no kids in restaurants or any environment. They're at home. And the parents are out by themselves. So they have couple time. So it's very much like I'd take my kids to a restaurant. My kids would be the only kids out there. And then they have kid time. So they let the kids go off on their own, whether it's to ski schools or whatever they have going on, or just to go to the shop, the bakery, to buy a loaf of bread. They push the kids out into this independent world. So they have family time, kid time, and parent time. And it was really an amazing thing to see, because I was that overgiving mom at one time. Like, I was all encompassing, like, this is my role in life. It doesn't matter about how I am. It doesn't matter about my partner and my relationship. And all of a sudden in Germany, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm allowed to like think about myself and my relationship and my, and to break it down into 3s really helped our family, because family time was so important, but so was everything else. So that was really an amazing cultural lesson from Germany that I learned there was, break it up into sections. Don't just have to be all encompassing or all giving. You can, like Oktoberfest, up until 5:00, it's children and families. 5:00, all the kids go home and all the adults come out. Kids are at home, adults are having their night. And it was really eye-opening to see how parents have a good balance there. And they're all working parents, they all work. But it's a good balance. Because when they're there, they're engaged. When it's family time, it's engaged, which makes all the difference.
I think, it's very important. I think it's very interesting. Like the way they have that in Germany, I think everyone should have that, some kind of division, I feel. Some kind of, that helps the families out in one way or the other. Because that's, as you said, that you were too giving. It's true. Are we allowed to? Because in the initial years, in the formative years, especially, you have to be so much there for your child. But afterwards, of course, you have time. You can give yourself time as well. But that break in the routine doesn't come. It doesn't come.
No, it doesn't unless you make it happen. And that's the hard part. A lot of parents feel like, I'm selfish, or, I shouldn't be doing this, but you're so much better when you've done other things too,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay. So, Joanne, can you please narrate one of the stories that you feel that families can incorporate and that can really help them in order to function effectively as a unit, as a family?
Yes. So actually I got my book right here. So there's 101 lessons, and one of them is from actually watching Oprah one day when my children were tiny, and it was just a really stressful time. And I was watching Oprah, and there was a woman named Toni Morrison being interviewed, and she said something that I always say: if you take one thing from my teachings or my book or anything I give, just do this one thing. And she started talking about how parents look at their children, just the initial look when they come into a room actually becomes how the children see themselves. And she said, if they come into the room and they're a mess and their hair's all over the place and their shirt's untucked, she's like, do not react. Don't react. First, look at them with love through your eyes and hey, and then deal with whatever you need to deal with. She said, but every time they come into your space, let them see how adored they are and how loved they are, because that initial feeling is what's going to make them come back to you all the time. And it's going to start the communication lines. It's going to start I want to be around my parents, which we all want, as they age. And she said, just light up when you see them. Just light up, and then deal with life. Then deal with all the stuff that you have to deal with after that. And I think that for me it's the one thing that I share first with my parents. And everyone says it changes, and it not only changes how the children feel, it changes how you feel too. Just to keep on reminding yourself, like, this is amazing. This is a very small piece of the pie. This time in our lives with these children is very short. It's not forever. And just always come back to that, hey, how are you? Kind of thing. So I think that's the one story that I love to share for parents, just to give small little things that for them to think about.
Yes, that makes really a big difference. I think it brings out a lot of positive energy as well from the parents' end. If they approach you in a lighter way, even if, you are you have to tell them to do something or the other. They are, not dressed appropriately or haven't done their work on time, but you approach them, okay? Rather than taunting them or shouting at them, that will make them rebel in one way, I feel.
It is. And if they just know, like, they can come into your space and just be loved, And like I said, we've got lots to teach our children. It's overwhelming how much we're supposed to instill in them over these years. But if you just break it down into moments in the day, like every time they walk in the room, I'm going to light up, and then I feel better. I'm like, oh, I am doing this, well, or you just take that moment, like you say, that positive energy, you just change the environment's energy and it becomes very, it becomes beautiful. So try it. It's a really good thing. And I even do it with my students when they walk into the classroom, just lighting up, like happy to see them. Everyone wants to be seen. In every culture, everyone wants to be seen, so it's an important one, I think.
Yeah, of course, it is very important. As I said, that everyone is aligned or moved towards the space where there is positivity, rather than the space where there is negativity. We're always attracted towards positive things around us. So
Yes.
the more positive and more happier or merrier the space you can make for your child, the better connect you can have with your child.
Exactly. And that's all we want.
That's all we want. Right.
That's all we want.
Okay. So, Joanne, in the new normal that we are in, things have completely changed. We have taken a 360-degree round with digitalization coming in our way, children taking online classes, and of course, they are missing out on their friends as well. They are all the time on there. Of course, in these times, we have Zoom, we have other platforms through which we can talk online, we can see each other. But that personal touch is also missing at the same time. So what will you suggest the kids out there or the parents out there to help these children?
I think what I would have said a year ago is different to now, because a year ago I was asked the same question and I was like, it's not forever, they'll be fine. It's not forever. I think the children that are having the hardest time are actually like the beginning school kids, the ones that really, they need a teacher, they need someone else in their lives, to grow them. Their parents have taught them what they need for that phase. But I think the children that are graduating or going to university, I think they also have a very hard time right now, and they need so much more social interaction. But I keep on saying, I think they'll be fine. It's just a time, our world over history has gone through so many hard things that, over the last 100 years, that children have come out of it stronger. And I don't know, I think in a year from now, we're really going to see the effects. But honestly, I think that parents need to just realize that it's just how it is right now, and not stress about it, because that stress, like we're talking about, the positive and negative environment is going to be felt, and I mean, yes, limit as much as you can without being negative about it. Don't let the kids feel like they're doing something wrong, because that's a negative. They sometimes don't have any other option. So sometimes we just have to take a step back and just go, this is how it is right now, And as for the interaction, I mean, that is just a hard one all around. Everybody's struggling with that. Everyone homeschooling. We are not in an ideal child situation right now. We are not. So, as parents, maybe make it more about family, maybe get to know your children. It's so hard to say one thing with this, but I do think that it will end sometime. Don't know when. A year ago, I thought it was going to end soon, but I think they'll be all right. I think our children will be fine. Maybe have some things to look forward to.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think that there's a one answer that can help. But I do know that children have gone through worse, and I think that families have gone through worse situation. And I don't mean there's so much suffering going on right now. I'm not belittling that at all, but I think teaching children how to be adaptable and flexible and resilient, And also, one thing I say to my children every day is we can control nothing that's going on right now except our attitude and our effort. Everything else we can't control. So what is your attitude today and what is your effort? Are you putting effort into something, or are you got a bad attitude? Then that's not good, because that's the one thing that we can control today. So, but otherwise I would say it's not a great situation for anybody,
Yes.
So.
But adaptability is that, like you said, we have to adapt to the new normal, the way things are moving. And like you said, attitude and effort. If you're the right attitude and putting the right efforts at the right place is very important. Then only you will be able to reap the benefits later. Otherwise, all the energy, all the time that you have right now that you can utilize will go down the drain. Just you can actually explore options right now. Look out for new avenues that you thought you might try, but you didn't get the time to do it. Now you have got all the time to try it out.
Exactly. And I think as well, now's a great time for parents. And this is tricky one, because parents are also really stressed out now. It's also our new normal. It's not just the children's new normal. It's, a lot of parents are working from home. I mean,
Yes.
with little ones, that is so hard. And I think just being gentle on each other and gentle on ourselves and gentle on the families and, gentle on other parents, and I think that maybe if that's the one lesson we could learn from this is just to stop being so hard on each other as parents. Our new normal is not even done yet. So, I don't know what the next phase is going to look like.
Very true. We just have to prepare ourselves mentally for that, because one thing that, like you said, we can control is ourselves. We can't control the environment that we are in. We can't control the people. We can't control the situation. We can just control one thing, that is ourselves.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. And our family and what happens under our roof.
Right.
And unfortunately, the hard thing is it's usually up to the parents to create that happy, positive environment. And that's where we're going to deplete as parents, is trying to keep that. It's okay, do you want to Zoom your friends? It's great. No. But, I have one saying that I say a lot is, what you sell, your kids will buy. If you sell everything's terrible, they're going to buy into that straight away. If you sell, hey guys, this is just a phase in our lives, they're going to buy into that. So whatever you are saying, or whatever you're saying to your partner, or whatever you're talking about, the kids are going to hear, and they're going to buy that. So whether you yourself are having a hard time, that is something that as a parent you need to work on, because your children are listening. They're taking on these beliefs. They're taking on that the situation's terrible, or they're taking on, wow, we are living history right now. There's craziness going on in the world. Maybe teach them to be more compassionate to their culture and their country and their community. It's a great opportunity to teach community right now, and how your actions will affect your community. I think it's a great lesson if we could bring that into our families. Think about the community first, health and safety first for other people. There's all these lessons we can put into our families that after this will be so much better than just thinking about your little home and your little bubble. There's a whole community out there that can benefit from you caring about them, whatever that is in your situation right now. But it's a great community lesson right now going on.
Right. Because there are a lot of people who are in need of help, and the vices, the values and the virtues can be learned at home only, and you can give them out. There are a lot of people who are working for it, and some little contribution can make a big difference. Amazing.
Anything. Yeah. And it can even be environmental. It can be coronavirus. It can be, switch the lights off before you leave the room, because, that's how we can affect our community. You can do little things in the home, wash your hands, stand 6 feet apart because you're going to help somebody else, or, and I think that the lessons are there. We just have to find them, and they may seem a little odd, but, whatever you need to do in your home to teach, help those children get through it. But I think a community lesson is a huge one that we might still have the opportunity to teach here.
And they just have to fill in the gaps that are existing in their personality in a way, so that they are able to develop in a holistic manner, and they're able to face the world out there, and make them better decision makers as well.
Absolutely.
That's what we want.
Absolutely. And I think teaching your children in the environment of a situation is good. When I was in Fiji, I met a man, he was 25, and he told me about when he was hunting with his family, and they have a lot of ants in the forest, and they were all in the forest, and they're walking, all the ants were biting him. And he was about 5, and he was like, ow, 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 the ants are biting me. And eventually his dad grabbed him by the scruff of his neck, pulled him into the forest, and said, stop complaining about the ants biting you. Everybody's getting bitten by ants. And he said, by you complaining about the ants biting you, it is alerting the entire family to the ants biting them. You're creating more pain instead of just keeping it down for the sake of the rest of the group. And he said that for him was the biggest aha, because he realized that what he did affected everyone around him. And if he complained, and if he whined, and if he moaned, it was alerting everybody else to that they were also going through pain at that time. And that was an amazing lesson to hear from him. Excuse me. But he, so I think it relates to now,
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Joanne, for joining us. I had an amazing time with you. I hope you had a nice time too.
So much. Thank you so much.
Amazing. So, Joanne, how can people get the copy of your book? Can you please read them about it?
It's available on anywhere where you buy your books. It is available. So this is what it looks like. And you can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and it's Your Passport to Parenting, or Joanne Holbrook, one of the two. And my website's yourpassporttoparenting.com. I have courses at the moment with these little things. I have one called Raising Resilience coming up, and another one called Ignite. And that one is really bringing the book to life, where you get to implement tiny little things into your family, like the looking at how to look at your children. It's called Ignite in 2021 because parents have had such a rough time. So we're igniting our parenting because we're all tired. So
that's amazing. We'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah. It's
amazing.